Good evening. Welcome to the Planning Commission. If everybody's make sure you had a chance to sign in, and if you saw the agenda over there, the public comments are actually item number 4 on the agenda. The first 3 ahead of you go really quick, so bear with us. And at that time when the public hearing starts, I'll introduce Adam Young, our planner, and he'll kick off that public comment portion. So anyways, let's call a meeting to order, 7:02. Roll call.
Roll call. Chair Street.
Here.
Co-Chair Nichols.
Here.
Secretary Demick present. Commissioner Aubrey.
Here.
Commissioner Blackstock.
Here.
Commissioner Hope.
Here.
Trustee Klein.
Here.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is approval of last month's, or whenever it was, meeting. So everybody had a chance to look over the minutes? So I'll entertain a motion to,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from September 23rd.
support.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Public comment section. Adam?
Yes, so thank you, everyone. My name is Adam Young. Can everyone hear me okay? So up on screen, I will go through a summary of the zoning ordinance amendments that are proposed. So the East China Township Planning Commission has been working over the last several months to consider potential changes to the zoning ordinance. This includes zoning map changes for 3 specific areas in the township, and then zoning text changes, so changes to the language of the zoning ordinance in a variety of sections of the zoning ordinance. Generally focused on housing and residential, but not exclusively limited to that. Why are the amendments being proposed? So about this time last year, the Planning Commission adopted a new master plan after having worked on that project for a number of months. And in the master plan, there were some specific recommendations related to zoning. And so one of the implementation strategies of the master plan was to review and evaluate your zoning ordinance and potentially work through the process to implement some changes. So that was specifically outlined, if you're interested in seeing, on pages 39 to 49 is a future land use plan that was in the master plan. And so the Planning Commission did kind of evaluation of what's in the future land use plan versus what's in the zoning ordinance and map to see whether any changes are appropriate. And then also pages 60 to 66 is a zoning plan. So that was a specific section of the master plan that talked about, here are some specific things that we want to look at in the zoning ordinance to help implement some of the recommendations in the plan. So what I'll first do is provide an overview of the 3 different areas that are proposed at this point to be potentially rezoned from their current designation. So the first one is area number 1. Here, this is one property. It's located in the northern part of the township along Hathaway Street. It's, I think the address is 60 Hathaway Street. It's an existing mobile home park right now, or manufactured home park right now, on about 3.5 acres. Presently, the zoning map shows this property, designates this property for the R1, which is a single-family residential zoning district. The R1 district does not allow mobile home parks. And the Planning Commission is considering changing this one property to the mobile home park district. Here's the actual parcel ID number. As I said, the current use of that property is as a mobile home park. The R1 district does not allow mobile home parks, and so the mobile home park presently is a non-conforming use that would add some restrictions to the property owner, and the rezoning would make the current mobile home park a conforming use if it is rezoned to the mobile home park district. So what that means in the mobile home park district, that zoning district allows essentially one use and one use only, and that's as a mobile home park. It doesn't allow any other types of uses. So what it means is that the owner would no longer have the non-conforming use status. There could be some maybe replacement of a mobile home within the park or something like that. If the mobile home park was abandoned or disbanded or closed down or something like that, somebody else could come in and take ownership of that and continue to operate it as a mobile home park. Or I guess the existing mobile home park could be torn down and a new mobile home park could be developed in line with the zoning ordinance. But if the owner wanted to do anything else, whether it's single family, multifamily, commercial, industrial, that would not be a possibility under the mobile home park zoning. They'd have to come back and ask you for a change to a different zoning district. During the discussion, when the Planning Commission was looking at areas on the map that could be rezoned, this was identified primarily, I think exclusively, because of the fact that it's not zoned based on the current use. And the thought was to give preference to the property owner in recognizing that the current use is a mobile home park and providing the zoning to match that current use. The second change, so this property is about almost 100 acres in size. This actually is two properties. The majority of it, almost 99 acres, is one property that's currently a horse farm, some agricultural land, and then there's a tiny little piece of property that's by the trail there, which is undeveloped. And so the current zoning of these two properties is mobile home park, which doesn't match the current land use of farming right now. And so, again, in recognition of the wanting to try and match the zoning to the existing land use here, the proposal is to rezone these two properties to the R3 single-family residential district. That's the most restrictive residential district. It allows low-density residential use. It also allows farming. And so that would make these two properties currently conforming, where right now, as I said, the mobile home park district only allows mobile home park use. So residential use of the property, the farmstead, the farm, anything going on in that property presently is a non-conforming use. So that owner is subject to restrictions that non-conforming uses are subject to. And the master plan does not show that property as being proposed for future mobile home park development. The third zoning map change is the DTE property along the riverfront. So this was talked about, discussed at length in the master plan. And the Township also went through a sub-area planning process. They went through a riverfront redevelopment plan as well. Kind of in recognition of the fact that that power plant is decommissioning, and the township over time would like to see that riverfront property redeveloped for something other than, would love to see a redevelopment of that property in general. So this rezoning consists of portions of three properties. One tiny little piece is actually owned by the road commission. It's kind of in the middle of that. And then the remainder are owned by DTE. This rezone, although some of the properties actually extend across M29 on the west side of M29, this rezoning is only proposed for the east side of M29. The current zoning is I2 heavy industrial, which allows for a power plant. The proposed zoning is a new zoning district called the Riverfront Mixed Use District. And so that's in the text. That's one of the text changes that's proposed, is to create this new Riverfront Mixed Use District. And the way that the language reads is that it would allow for the current uses to continue to be subject to the I2 district, essentially. So for the short term, for the time being, it doesn't really have any impact on the property owner in the sense that the I2 district requirements would still apply, but the property owner, the current owner or a future owner, if and when they would want to move forward with a mixed-use redevelopment of the site, this RMU district essentially gives them the flexibility in allowing a variety of uses, light industrial, commercial, even residential, or a mixture of uses on that property. And it talks about some of the kind of criteria that it would want to see for a redevelopment, including providing some open space on the property, opening up some access for the public to the riverfront as well. So a future property owner, when the market says time is okay to redevelop this property, they could come and propose a plan to the township. The Planning Commission and the Township Board could approve a redevelopment plan for that site under this RMU mixed-use district. So that one, that proposed rezoning is reflective of the master plan's desire to have this property at some point in time maybe be redeveloped away from the heavy industrial power plant use presently. So those are the three zoning map changes. The text changes that are proposed, there are, in the definitions section, a number of new definitions are proposed to be added. These are related to housing types, or more specifically, residential care facilities. These terms weren't previously addressed or defined in the zoning ordinance, and so it's just a matter of defining these terms in the zoning ordinance. The Planning Commission went through and looked at all of the zoning districts and the different allowances, use allowances within the zoning districts, whether they're a conditional land use or a permitted land use, and is looking at doing a few adjustments here. So if it's identified in red on the screen, that's a proposed change or an addition. Couple that are being added here that I wanted to specifically mention. Multiple family residential dwellings on the second floor or above. That's something that the Planning Commission has looked at for the commercial districts to potentially allow a mixed-use building. So, or maybe a work where somebody could live on the apartment above and work, or maybe an owner of a business that lives on the apartment above and works at the business below. Home occupations is something that wasn't previously addressed in the zoning ordinance. That's proposed to be addressed in the text amendments here. There's also listed there, you can see residential open space development, residential cluster development, and site condominiums. Those were always allowed, but they weren't, this is just kind of adding them into this chart here for reference purposes so that people can see, oh, if I'm zoned R3, I do have the ability to develop a site condominium on that property if I go through the correct procedure, for example. On this chart, this just kind of goes through the like care facilities, so child care, adult daycare, assisted living, congregate facilities. Again, these were not really specifically addressed in the zoning ordinance, and state law, in fact, requires that we do need to allow for child care facilities, child care family homes, for example, that have up to 6 children. Same thing for adult foster care, up to 6 adults within a home. So state law requires us to include those as permitted uses in the residential zoning districts. But you can see some of the other facilities like group daycare, adult foster care, large group homes. These are potentially allowed in some cases as a conditional use in the single family districts or as a conditional use in the multiple family residential districts. I had mentioned the subdivision open space development option. So this is an option that's given to property owners who are zoned in the single family residential districts to develop an open space project. So if you have maybe 40-acre property, you could cluster some housing in a smaller portion of the site while preserving the remainder of the site for open space. So this is not new, it's always been in the ordinance. But the only change that we're doing is making it clear that you could propose both a subdivision and a site condominium. There's no practical difference between the two, it's just a form of ownership. Site condominium ownership versus subdivision ownership. it's still the same type of a development. So we're just clarifying that a site condominium could apply under this option. Similarly to the one-family residential clustering option, that's not a new option, it's been on the books. We're clarifying, again, that it could be both a site condominium or a subdivision. And we also looked at a couple of tweaks in the process to make sure that the process itself for somebody to go through is not overly burdensome. There is already in place a planned neighborhood development district, PND, in the zoning ordinance. This is yet another option for property owners to apply, and it offers some flexibility. Of course, they have to go through a review and approval process by the township. So the option itself is not new, but we did clarify that a greater mixture of residential uses could be allowed in the planned neighborhood district. We reduced the minimum lot size to qualify for eligibility to even be able to apply to 5 acres, so you would need a 5-acre site minimum. Granted some additional potential to grant additional density if a project achieves design excellence and is in accordance with your master plan. And again, just did a critical review of the review process to make sure that the process itself is not overly burdensome for somebody who wanted to try to propose a project under the option. As I had mentioned, a big change in this proposed text amendments here is the creation of a new riverfront mixed-use district. Again, if the rezoning of that one area is approved, those would be the only properties that are zoned riverfront mixed-use district. And as I mentioned, it's intended to facilitate the redevelopment of that site over time. Since we were looking at housing, we did look at parking formulas for housing, the various housing types, for example, and then made some adjustments to some of the formulas. We also added some additional flexibility to the Planning Commission who under certain circumstances could modify off-street parking requirements for certain uses. We also provided are proposing some additional flexibility for the Planning Commission to deviate from hard surface requirement for parking areas. So the ordinance requires off-street parking lots to be paved, but this gives an exception in the case of a temporary use or a seasonal use that they could get away with the gravel surface or a natural surface. Or the Planning Commission can grant an alternative durable material. So it isn't asphalt, but it could be pervious concrete or permeable pavers for the purpose of trying to improve stormwater detention on that property. With regard to landscaping, again, a provision that gives the Planning Commission some flexibility based on the unique site conditions. So the Planning Commission is given the ability to say, we're not going to require parking along this portion of this property because there's existing vegetation already in place. So that flexibility wasn't previously given. It would require a property owner to go get a variance from the ZBA. Here, as part of site plan review, the Planning Commission could potentially modify or adjust landscaping requirements. Revisions to site plan review procedures. So we expanded the listing of projects that would be administratively or are eligible for administrative review. So minor projects, it's clear the language clarifies that it doesn't have to necessarily go to the Planning Commission. If it's a minor project, it can be approved administratively by the building official. We also went through and did some modifications to what needs to be included on a site plan when it's submitted for your review. And then, as I said, new requirements for home occupations. It includes a listing of permitted types of home occupations, a listing of home occupations that are prohibited, would not be allowed. It has some basic use standards for home occupations, and then a requirement that a zoning permit needs to be obtained for home occupations. So that's a summary of the language. I could pull open anything if you wanted to look on screen, if you wanted to look at something in detail. But I'll turn it back to you, and if you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to try and answer at this time, but I'd certainly, after the public hearing, I'd also be able to answer any questions. And maybe just one other thing to say is for the benefit of those in the audience, that the Planning Commission is a recommending body. So what would happen tonight is the Planning Commission will hear public comments, will close the public hearing after comments have been received, will deliberate later on the agenda, and potentially, could be tonight or at a subsequent meeting, you could make a recommendation to the township board. It could be a recommendation to adopt the amendments with or without changes, and then ultimately the township board has the final say on whether these changes would be adopted.
Very good. Did you have a question, George?
Yeah, Adam, I'm concerned about, I think you referred to it as Area 2, the horse farm?
Yes. Correct. On Recor Road there. Yes. What, do you have a specific question?
I'm just curious because this is really the first time I've been exposed to it. I'm wondering what the effect will be on the current residents there.
So, right now, for the property owner, their farm is a non-conforming use, so technically per our ordinance, they would have restrictions on what they could do, whether they could expand, things of that nature. And taking it away from mobile home park zoning, it would mean that the property owners would have no ability to potentially establish a mobile home on that property. Not that we have any indication that the property owners want to do that. So that's an impact. For the people who live nearby this, the impact maybe to current use is really negligible, but it eliminates the possibility that a new mobile home park could be established on that 100 acres. And it's not in line with the master plan, so I would suspect that people are fine with that change.
And we looked at Area 1, which was 4 acres, and this is 100 acres, so that's like, how many, 20
It could be a
25?
very, very large mobile home park, yeah.
Well, it's in a flood zone, so that's not gonna happen.
And not all of it is in the flood, so they could have, not
Yeah.
100 acres certainly.
Yeah, everything's in a flood zone except for the actual buildings.
Okay. Any other question? And as I'm opening it up to public comment, I have 2 written public comments that I'm going to read to get into the minutes first, and then you folks can all have your turn at it.
Do you need a motion to open the public hearing?
Pardon?
Do you need a motion to open the public hearing?
Do I?
I think you need a motion.
Okay,
to open the-
let's have a motion.
I'll make a motion, we open the public hearing at 7:24.
Support?
Second.
Larry, support. All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment session is officially open. Okay. This is from Sue and Sandy Day on 1815 River Road. Subject zoning issue. Please let it be known that Sue and Randy Day are residents of East China, Michigan 48054 and do not wish to change the current zoning ordinance along River Road. Zoning should remain the same. Sincerely, Sue and Randy Day. Okay. I have another letter. It says, Dear Mr. Street, this letter is in response to your notice of public hearing scheduled for November 11th regarding a proposed zoning change for property commonly known as 60 Hathaway Street, East China. It is my opinion that the current zoning of the above property should remain R1, one family residential district, and not be changed to mobile home park MHP district. I understand it to be non-conforming but grandfathered in. I spoke with Adam Young of Wade Trim. He confirmed that the current MHP was demolished, that if the current MHP was demolished, only single-family homes can be built on the property under the current zoning. If the property is changed to MHP and the property is demolished, only another MHP can be built on the property. The future land use map does not intend to accommodate any new mobile home park developments, and the future zoning for this parcel is projected to be multifamily. Why would this parcel be rezoned to MHP when it is in direct conflict with future master plan? In speaking with some of the neighbors, many expressed concern over the increase in crime at 60 Hathaway Street. I made a Freedom of Information Act request to the Sheriff's Office for statistics on crime for East China over the last 10 years, and specifically for 60 Hathaway Street. I will share this information when received. In conclusion, the zoning should remain R1 with the understanding that it is non-conforming as it has been for many years. Regards, Andrea K. Breeden, 1821 River Road, East China, Michigan. Okay. And so who would like to go next? If you would, when you come up, would you just state your name?
I'm Andrea Breeden, and you just read my letter. So you've got the majority of my concerns mentioned, but I did notice in the legal description for that parcel that it identifies the property as being partially in the city of St. Clair. The legal says, parcel of land situated in the city of St. Clair and the township of East China. So it's in both. And when I looked at the city of St. Clair's zoning map, it appears that the abutting property is zoned R3, which is for multifamily. So I think you need to be clear on your rezoning if a portion of this land is also in the city limits and where that line would fall. So I think that's something that needs to be addressed. And I also spoke with Mr. Young about the definition of a manufactured home in your ordinance, and I think it was page 14. It describes what I believe is a modular home. And a modular home is an off-site construction home where a manufactured home is actually a titled unit. So there may be some misunderstandings in the definition of your manufactured home versus modular home. So I think that should be considered. And as a side note, I think Airbnbs need to be addressed in the zoning as well.
Thank you. Next. Go ahead.
My name is Mark Ackett. I reside at 1819 River Road, directly across from the mobile home park. My concern isn't so much whether it's a mobile home park or a residential area. My concern is the safety of the cars exiting that mobile home park. Right now, currently, you have 15 to 20 cars parked along M29. They enter from the north and exit from the south. When they exit from the south, there is no area for them to turn. I've watched many, many times people have to stick their head out the window to look to see if traffic is coming from the north, or they have to depend on their mirrors to see if traffic is coming from the north. Many times I've attempted to pull left out only to have cars not see me and pull out in front of me. Going back to a residential home would eliminate that, as the people would have a straight in and out way of getting in and out of the parking. I don't know how the road commission decides the entrance to something like that. I'm assuming it's a county issue, not a township issue. But that's my main concern, is the safety there, especially in the summer with the high traffic from the Dairy Queen. The Dairy Queen obviously doesn't have enough square footage to support the drive-through traffic, so it backs up on M29, sometimes 10 to 15 cars deep.
Been there.
I find it unbelievable that people would wait that long for an ice cream cone, but they do, which is just a safety hazard to me, is what I wanted to bring up, where if it went back to someday, probably not in my lifetime, but someday to a single-family home, it may alleviate that type of problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to put their 2 cents worth in?
Hey, can you hear me? Dan Gerald, I live on 5023 Point Drive. Just curious that the Edison plant that's been down, what, 2 years? Is there anything, what they're gonna do? Tear down, what they're gonna do?
The power
Oh,
plant?
you can't, yeah, the Edison plant.
That's up to them. We've asked them that.
I'll bet you have. I was just curious too, we all are. We all are.
I'm a retiree, I'll give you my 2 cents worth. I helped tear down several of their old plants, and they waited like 10 years before they did it, from the
Okay.
time they were shut down until they eventually tore them down, so.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll probably happen, but not soon.
No, because everybody, right, we're all just curious, you know,
Yeah.
because that's a big chunk of property.
It is,
And
it's
they got
huge.
all the other plants and everything. So we're just curious what's going on. I know you hear rumors, people talk, you know, that they might build houses there. Is that a possibility?
Right now, they cannot.
They can't. Yeah.
If under the proposed, what's it called, Adam?
Yeah, the riverfront mixed use.
Riverfront mixed use. They could build residential as part of the mixed use, but it would have to be an overall approved plan. They couldn't just go in and put houses along the road or something. Besides, the amount of remediation to get that to a green field would be awesome. So,
Okay. Well, thank you.
sure.
I think it's worth noting too that DTE was present and at the table, so to speak, when we went through that riverfront redevelopment planning process.
Yep.
And expressed interest in having flexibility and expressed interest in doing a long-term redevelopment, but certainly would not commit to
Made-
timeframe and specifics.
Made absolutely no commitments. Okay. Anybody else?
I think, my name's Corey Shivers, 5031 Point Drive. I live right down the road from Dan. I think we've already hit a couple points of what some of our concerns as neighbors are to the Edison plant. But if I'm reading between the lines, they're gonna rezone it to the multi-use and maybe make it easier for them to offload it and do something better with it in the future. But anything that they do going forward would have to come towards you guys and be approved, and we'd have a say again.
Yes.
That was my main concern.
The whole purpose for doing it is to put some controls on it before they even think about selling it to somebody.
Right.
So if somebody was going to buy it, they would look at that zoning and said, oh, well, if we do want a development, here's some basic rules we have to follow. So at least we have something in there.
Kind of put up some guardrails ahead of schedule, I guess. I guess I would appreciate that. All right, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think to that point, the Riverfront Mixed Use District would require a public hearing to be held before the Planning Commission and approval by the Township Board. So anyone who wanted to propose a plan, whether it's DTE or a future property owner, that plan would be available for review, a public hearing, the Planning Commission would get a chance to review and weigh in.
I think another positive thing, and I don't have my microphone, but I think you can hear me. If you leave it in the industrial, they have freedom to put other industrial things in there.
Yes, they do. Well, it'll still stay I-2.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not taking anything
Until
away
they're-
from, it's still their property, and we're not taking anything away, so they still could.
Okay.
I have a question, Walt.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a question. My name's Jacqueline Short. I'm the recording secretary. I'm just wondering, under that definition, would they be able to build one of those like data centers there or anything? Is that under the mixed use?
Yeah, this is just for the recording, it doesn't help.
Can they build
There's no-
like a data center there? One of those, like in the mixed use, would they be able to build one there? Does that go in the definition there?
Yeah, I can speak to that.
Okay.
A data center, yes, that would be one of the industrial uses that could be allowed as a mixed use. Of course, it is
It's also allowed as I-2.
right on a major electric corridor there
Yeah.
as well. It's a unique site in that, I guess maybe the aerial is the best way to look at it. I'll show the site again. The interesting part, this pad right here, can you see the cursor? Is, from what we understand, owned by DTE but leased by ITC.
Or owned by ITC, I don't know
I think
which.
it's owned by DTE, but
Is it
leased
still
by
owned?
ITC, and that can't go anywhere. And it's smack dab in the middle of the site. And from everything that we're hearing about data centers is that they need a very large property, and something smack dab in the middle of it would probably be something that would be hard for them to get around.
Okay.
So although a data center could be a possibility, maybe a smaller one could be a possibility.
And it's allowed under I-2, right?
And it is already allowed.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, but it's a great question, and it's a relevant topic.
Yeah, definitely
I
a
don't
concern
think
for the
that a
area.
big one that we've been seeing proposed out in farmland else in other communities would be feasible here, but maybe a smaller version could. And it also would have access to water, which
Yeah.
I understand they also need water, given that it's right on the river. So, again, a lot of environmental things would need to be discussed as part of any type of development, including whether it's a data center.
Yeah, I'm
But
just kidding.
in theory, it's one of the options, yes.
Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? Okay,
And you should make a motion to officially close.
close, yep. Go ahead, Herb.
I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing at 7:38.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, public hearing is closed.
Oh, yeah, one more question. How come they didn't have a township picnic this year?
How come they didn't have a township picnic
Oh.
this year?
Park Commission.
Wrong commission.
Put the hot dogs in a coleslaw, man.
Yeah.
Had all that time to talk, now I want to talk now.
Okay.
Okay. So, we're on to our unfinished businesses to talk about the comments we just heard.
Couple comments that Andrea mentioned. One was with regard to the definition, and we did talk about that over the phone.
Okay,
The-
mobile and
Didn't want to make any
modular.
changes to the public hearing draft or anything in advance of the meeting, but I'd be glad to take a look at that, and possibly we would need to create multiple definitions of mobile home, a definition for mobile home, a definition for modular home, and a definition for manufactured home, based on the, the state standards for those
Yeah.
definitions, to include those in the zoning ordinance.
And then
I think
define,
that would address that.
and define whether it can go in residential or whether it goes in mobile home.
Right.
'Cause I would think that,
So the mobile home park district, or the manufactured home park district right now includes language that suggests that it could be a mobile home park or a manufactured home park.
Yeah,
I don't think the term modular is used
Okay.
in the mobile home park district presently, right?
yeah, I'm just thinking of the houses that they build now where the walls are all prefabricated and everything, and they just come and set the walls up. It's getting really close to, they're not stick-built.
Yeah, and that is an important clarification. Per state law, we can't, if it's an individual property and an individual unit is proposed to be developed and it allows for dwelling units, somebody could, in theory, do a mobile home, individual mobile home, or an individual modular home, or an individual manufactured home. It would have to meet our dwelling unit standards that include basements and foundations and storage space and materials and the minimum width and all of that, like any other dwelling unit is subject
Okay.
to. Nothing that we're doing tonight affects any of that.
Okay. Andrea's point too on the, whether that parcel is partially in city of St. Clair or not.
Right.
I missed that completely.
I'm not surprised by that, and you can even see, I noticed the same too. The border is essentially this yellow line right here, and I think this little piece is in the city of St. Clair. we have no jurisdiction over the zoning for the piece of property that would be within the city of St. Clair. We would, our proposal at this point is only with regard to this particular piece of property in East China Township.
Portion of the parcel that's in East China.
But it truly is just a sliver, and it could, but it does, you can kind of see this one mobile home right here does appear to extend across the border into the city of St. Clair.
Andrew, you thought their R3 is multiple? Ours isn't. Ours is still single.
I wouldn't be surprised. R3, the designation R3 usually refers to mobile home. In East China, you kind of do it a little bit differently.
Okay.
R3 happens to be the most restrictive single-family district in East China Township.
I've noticed municipalities do it differently.
Yeah.
And from what I read online, it appears that it's zoned R3, but they describe it as multifamily. Usually R3 is a higher density development than an R1 or an R2.
Ours is just the opposite. R3 is the lowest density. Okay.
And then Andrew, you also had asked or suggested that we should also address short-term rentals in the zoning ordinance. I don't know if we talked about it at the planning commission level over the last several months.
I don't think we have.
I don't believe we did. That is not something that we discussed. It's not proposed one way, yes or no, in the text amendments by any means. And the planning commission couldn't take any action on that because the public hearing notice didn't mention anything about short-term rentals. I would suspect probably that the planning commission would take direction from the township board. And most of the time, when I see a short-term rental ordinance being passed, it's not included within the zoning ordinance. It's included in the general code so that you don't have to deal with non-conformities. If it's in the zoning ordinance, state law requires you to allow any that had previously been established to remain and continue. And so if you did want to take action against, for short-term rental to say limit the number of short-term rentals in the township, if you did it in zoning, you wouldn't be able to limit the ones that have already been in place. If you did it outside of zoning in a general code, which is 100% the purview of the township board and not the planning commission, then you wouldn't have to deal with nonconformities. So that might be something that you'd want to bring up with the township board at a township board meeting and encourage them to consider regulating short-term rentals. I don't even know if we do have an ordinance already, or if it's regulated at all. But that would be something you should share with the township if you're interested.
Okay. That sounds good to me. Okay. Traffic. That traffic's a monster right there, I agree. I take my dog to the groomer right in that area too, and you can't see people coming around the curve to start with, let alone people trying to get out of the mobile home park. Again, leaving it to residential one, you're hoping that sometime in the next 20, 30, or 40 years that the mobile home park ceases to exist. So I would suggest that maybe we should try and find a better short-term something to do with the traffic there. That is hard getting in and out of. Maybe a different driveway configuration or something would help. And the cars backed up at the Dairy Queen, I don't know what you're going to do about that.
Yeah, that seems to be the main problem, is the cars at the Dairy Queen, right?
Yeah. And again, I don't know as the zoning is going to have much effect on that. But again, that is a problem that should be addressed somewhere or other. I think we could probably find a better place to try and do that. Okay, did we address most of the comments then, I think?
Just the conflict in the master plan.
Oh,
Yeah, I can speak to that too, and I know we discussed that. The master plan does very clearly say that it's not intended for any new mobile home parks to be developed in the township. This is an existing mobile home park, and it is true that if, they could, I suppose, tear it down and propose to build a new mobile home park. And that could be a possibility if we do make this zoning change. Whereas right now, under the R1 district, It's non-conforming, they're grandfathered, they can remain, but they have some limitations. And if they do tear it down, or if it was abandoned, they would not be able to reestablish a mobile home park use. I think when the planning commission identified this as a possibility, it was the thought that there's already a mobile home park there. By making this change, we wouldn't be encouraging new mobile home park development at this location. But ultimately, it's up to the building.
But if they went for a building permit to do something to maintain the thing,
They could run up against limitations
yeah.
that are restricted, even how much money you can invest, with a non-conforming use.
Yep.
But I think they already did that. If I'm not mistaken, I think they went through and renovated most
They
of
did.
that trailer park.
I
That
don't
has
know.
been, in the last 10 years, that's been all renovated.
Yeah. I don't know how they, I think it was probably our previous building
I'm
inspector.
sure it was. It was that long ago, but I do remember them bringing in new units and redevelop. I mean, everything on M29 was
all
repaired
brand new.
and replaced,
Yeah.
from what I remember.
So did the previous future land use map have that as multiple?
Multifamily.
Yeah, multifamily. This is the, I don't know which master plan you looked at. The
Look
24,
at the most recent one. Yeah.
It was one I found online.
okay, up until Friday, the old one was online.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, Wendy forgot to upload the new one. So when I questioned her on it, she,
I might have the old master plan here.
oh, I think I've got an old zoning map.
I do not, I'm sorry. No, I don't have the previously adopted master plan.
I got a printout of the map.
Oh, it's not the future. I got the zoning map, not the future.
Oh, yeah, actually, yeah.
As it marked as
Multiple
multifamily for the future.
So we just left it.
Yeah, that's the old master plan. I'll give this back. And then the current master plan, I'll pull open the future land use plan. Here's the most recent adopted one.
This is one I found last week online.
The current master plan shows the same multifamily residential.
Yeah.
And so it's the same, so no change was made there. So again, that in that category, in the description for that, it recognizes that there is an existing mobile home park that is acknowledged as being able to remain, but again, the language says, does not encourage new mobile home parks to be developed in the township.
Is there still, Adam, can you refresh it? Is there still a requirement per the state of Michigan to have that specific zoning required in a community?
If you didn't have an existing mobile home park in your community, then I would caution the township in not having any land planned for new mobile home park development. But you do have an existing mobile home park in your community. So you've already accommodated your fair share of this use. And the master plan is clear that it says no new manufactured home park is proposed or anticipated. But it does say if anyone does come and propose a new mobile home park, that here's the location standards that you would use. So it essentially gives you criteria to be able to say, one of them is consistency with the master plan, but is it on a major road, access, all this kind of thing. So you're in a better position to be able to say no to it. And by virtue of the fact that you already have one in your community, that you're not, it's not a default that you're prohibiting it in your community.
But does the zoning apply to that as well? So we have one.
No, you don't even,
But does
you
it have to
have
be
one.
zoned to meet that state requirement?
I don't know that rezoning this or not rezoning this would make any impact on a legal, that somebody would be able to say you are in compliance or you are not in compliance. I don't think that does not.
Just because it's zoned one way or another, the fact that it's there physically there, you have one.
Okay. Like, let's, devil's advocate,
Yeah,
this spring a tornado comes through and wipes out the trailer park.
right,
That trailer park can't be rebuilt.
correct.
We're back to not having a zone
Correct.
piece of property. Does that become an issue?
At that point, you may want to consider the next master plan after, that's considered after that would happen, that you might want to identify a new location on your plan for it.
So you're not aware of any legal requirement to have a parcel designated or zoned for that?
All right.
It's okay to acknowledge it as non-conforming and grandfathered in.
It is okay to keep it in its current situation, zone R1, and it's a non-conforming use. I also believe that it would be okay to change it to mobile home park district. You've got the kind of pros and cons that were discussed, and certainly recognition of your comment that if a tornado went through and half of it was demolished, non-conforming rules would prevent it from being rebuilt. If we change it to mobile home park district, they could rebuild it. That's correct. If we didn't, then they'd have to come in and petition us for a change in zoning, and then we'd have to decide at that time, I suppose. This was seen as kind of a proactive step to correct what was deemed inconsistency on the zoning district's map.
Just out of curiosity, we know the ones along M29 were already replaced within the last 10 years or so. I never went back inside there. Were the ones inside replaced too?
I drove through the other day, and there's a lot that needs some updating and some repair.
Okay, so some have and some haven't.
That's my opinion.
Just looking at them. Okay.
I think they were replaced, but they were not all replaced with new units. They were replaced with reconditioned units. So that could, as you're driving through then, they weren't maybe replaced with brand new units, they replaced with reconditioned units, which probably didn't look that new. And that was, been going on for a while.
And I think when those ones along the River Road, didn't they take out like 10 units and put 6 back in or something? It seems to me they put bigger
It's been
lots.
so long. I thought that's what they did.
Yeah.
I thought what was there typically were I don't know how to describe them, the old school units, which were like basically a trailer with no wheels.
Yeah.
And when they went through and selectively replaced and upgraded, I mean, you can look at the aerial, they're more modern units. I want to call them a double wide is, I guess, the slang term for it. I guess that's the question, is that if it has been non-conforming all this time, and then whatever it was, 10 years ago or whatever it was, we allowed them to go through and make all of these updates, what's the point of the zoning?
Yeah.
I mean, it was non-conforming, and we allowed them to go in and replace whatever it was, 30, 40, 80% of the units. I mean, theoretically, we should have just let them rot and fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it was zoned improperly, so.
But just like the one down in Cotterville along the river there. But
Yeah.
It's down to one trailer.
They did rot and fall apart.
That was what I wouldn't want that to happen, is to have them just gradually fall down, and they wouldn't replace them. And
Then you enforce the blight ordinance.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got an empty lot with one trailer on it. Okay. So I guess my recap is that we had the one letter saying they don't want to change any of the zoning on M29. So I assume that means the power plant site.
The other letter said River Road.
Yeah.
I looked up the address and
The
it's
mobile home park
right
is
there.
right across from River
Right,
Road.
their address, so I'm
it's up
assuming.
at that one?
Yeah,
So did it actually say on the letter which site they
No.
were?
no.
No, it just says River Road.
It fronts on River Road.
Yeah, so I guess we don't know for sure whether they were commenting about this mobile home park site or the DTE site.
Yeah, it sounds, if their address is up at that end, then they're probably talking about the mobile home park.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, I don't think we have any controversy on the DTE property, no controversy on the horse farm on Rico Road, and so then we just, do we want to, I mean, that's been sitting there for all this time. Do we want to try and clean it up just for the sake of cleaning it up, or do you want to just leave it for some future developer to hassle with it?
My only concern was whether or not we had to have it per state law. I mean, if you tell us that the zoning, I'm assuming they're both multifamily. Whether you do a traditional multifamily or this, it's irrelevant from a zoning standpoint, correct? It's still a higher density, it's not a single-family residential.
Yes.
So-
It's shown as multifamily on the master plan as well. It's acknowledged in the master plan as an existing mobile home park that is acknowledged to remain for the time being. And that again is the legal kind of ammunition you need to be able to say we're not exclusionary to mobile home parks in our jurisdiction.
Okay.
Whether you move forward with this zoning change or not at this location.
So if we make any changes to this before we submit it to the township, do we need another public hearing?
No.
Okay.
No. If you added a new property, yes.
Okay.
A fourth area, yes.
All
You
right.
can take out an area.
Or we're going to add in a couple definitions.
Yep.
Yeah.
So at this point, the motion would be a recommendation to the township board to adopt the text amendments with the addition of definitions for the mobile home types, and also to recommend adoption of the zoning map changes, if you wanted to say all three or two of the three, however you wanted to word that.
Okay. I'm leaning towards 2 of the 3.
Agreed. It's fine with me.
2 out of the 3 sound good? Leave the mobile home park just the way it is at R1 for now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, did you write down Adam's? Okay, very good. How are we going to, what is it, the official title of that property? Is it,
Yeah, you could not do 60 Hathaway Street.
60 Hathaway Street? Okay. We're going to do what he said, except we will exclude the 60 Hathaway Street, leave that as it's currently zoned. So I made that proposal, and Adam. And support?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good.
Okay, so I'll work with the township and to get this language updated for the definitions, to take out the one zoning map change, put it into ordinance format that will be sent to the township board, and then I suspect probably there, at some point in December, they would take this item up and consider.
Okay. Very good.
And it's off your plate unless for some reason the township board sends it back to you and says, hey, rethink this or that, which they can. So you're good.
Very good. Thank you for your input.
Thank you very much for listening. Appreciate it.
Oh, we're on down to, that was new business. Any other items to be discussed by the commission? No? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. 8 o'clock on the nose.
Larry, support. All in favor?
Aye.
8 o'clock. Very good.